Now it is time for our President's panel, so I'd like to welcome back up to the stage Alessandra Bellini and Julian Douglas. Thank you. So just before I go through the Slido questions, a question for all of you, and if I can start with you, Alessandra. Looking for the year ahead, really, is there one challenge or even threat that leaders in the industry should be preparing for? You talked about talent, the shortage of talent. Is that it for you, or is it something different?
Yeah, very much to the shortage of talent. I think, as we heard, we are in difficult times. All companies are looking for ways to be more efficient and cutting, where possible, the budgets. And so one of the looming challenges is that we make the problem that we have on talent even more acute by not investing in training, by not investing in recruitment and attraction. Is something that really, really worries me.
Julian, what about for you, the biggest challenge ahead, the biggest potential threat for people?
I think my biggest concern, and it's interesting hearing the other speeches this morning, is mental health. So I think we've seen 14% constriction in the numbers, and that's agencies and advertisers together. Yet we know the focus on the pressure on every pound spent, also the plethora of channels available. I mean, there's more to be done by fewer people. So my worry is that pressure, that continued builds up, the impact that has on people having negative mental health outcomes for people right across our industry, which will also drive people out of the industry. So it was great to hear you call out the pitch positive pledge, which that was put around not to try and fix pitching, it was to try and have more sustainable relationships. And relationships are often determined by how they start. So if you can start a relationship well, then the chances are it can stay that way. So I think I'd really like to see even more advertisers sign up to this year. NatWest have already signed up. It would be great to get Tesco signed up. But I think mental health really needs to stay at the forefront of all of our minds going through this.
And of course, until you fix the talent shortage, that exacerbates that problem, doesn't it? Because of the pressure on those that are doing all those jobs. Margaret, for you, the biggest challenge or indeed threat that people should be preparing for in January of this year?
I think they're all sort of interrelated. For me, it's volatility. I think one of the biggest things we're going to have to manage is we don't know, probably more now than ever before, how the market's going to play out. I think that means there's more pressure on budgets, there's more pressure on managing performance, there's more pressure on talent, that puts more pressure on the agency relationship. And, we're talking a lot about how do we control the controllables, how do we build flexibility into what we do, because we know we're going to have to pivot. We just don't know when, where, and how. And we're already seeing it. I mean, if I look at our segments, mortgage market pretty much falling off a cliff, credit card market's gone mad, buy-to-let market falling off a cliff, loans, consolidation. So there's a lot of quick, I think, consumer behavior change. And we as an industry, I think we have a lot of, binary constraints. We book media 2 months out. That comes with consequence. So I think as a leader in marketing, how do you more flexibly manage that volatility, I think, which has lots of implications on talent, relationships, and how we spend our money.
Yeah, absolutely. Margaret, if I can start with you in terms of the Slido questions, back to what you were talking about in your speech, this issue of trust. A question here from somebody who doesn't want to give their names. Margaret, isn't it an easy get-out-of-jail card to say the bombardment of advertising causes distrust? How about clickbaits, fake claims, no value exchange?
I would say all of the above. It's not just all down to bombardment. I think what I see now in today's world is there's no gap between what you say and what you do, and how we show up as brands, I think, needs to be incredibly consistent. And as brand owners, we need to be managing our supply chain, and I think that's our gap. I think bombardment is a symptom of a problem, but I'm definitely not saying that is the only underpin and reason for lack of trust. I think it's multifaceted.
Okay, a question from Simon Redican. Is an excess of over-intrusive advertising decimating advertising effectiveness? Julian, do you want to start with that one?
I wouldn't say it's decimating it, because I think, especially having just come through an effectiveness year at the IPA, we're seeing some of the most effective advertising of all time is happening right now. If you look at the channels that are available to us, what technologies are affording us, we can see true effectiveness. But of course, there are always challenges to that, and so I think it's important that we have a focus on efficiency, but also on effectiveness, like we heard today.
Alessandra.
Well, I think actually I agree with Julian. I don't think we're seeing lack of effectiveness. I think what we're seeing is there's a bit of everything in this industry, and it's our role to, lead by example and use the technology, use the talent, upskill our talent, by the way, is really, really important. Digital skills we've always talked about, to know how to measure. We have more than ever the ability to measure the impact and the effectiveness of our communication. So it's actually a cry for everyone to use what we have available, use the resources that we have to make it even more measurable and effective. And that will, in turn, become more trusted as well.
Okay, going back to your point on mental health, a question here. Julian, how are you holding agencies' clients accountable to the Pitch Positive pledge? I know at my agency, nothing's changed. The process is still soul-sucking.
That's sad. Is that an anonymous question, I imagine?
That is definitely an anonymous question.
That's sorry to hear, because I've seen a lot of evidence of massively improved pitch behaviour on both sides by agencies and advertisers. I think a lot of people enjoyed a Christmas holiday who previously may not have. And I think we're seeing much shorter pitch processes. We're seeing advertisers making meaningful contributions to the cost of pitching when a pitch is necessary. In terms of how we're policing it, ultimately it's a commitment, it's a responsibility and accountability on the signatories. So I would say where bad behaviour does continue to exist, I'd urge people to get in touch with the IPA, with ISBA, whichever member organisation they're in. The Ad Association is also a signatory. So it's a commitment cross-industry to improve the way we do business, which recognises practices haven't always been good. There's been a lot of problems in the practice. Where they still continue, please get in touch so we can improve it.
It's hard, isn't it, though, if you're in that position. You might be a starter in the industry, you might be wanting to make a name for yourself, but you would still advise getting in touch with one of the...
Well, I think so, because if someone's an agent, I can't think of many agencies in the UK that have not signed this pledge. And so that is a commitment from the top of each agency in the land that this matters. It's in all of our interest to have a better, more accountable, more sustainable relationship, and we kick it off in the right way.
So call it out.
So I think you've got to call it out.
Okay. A question here from Nick Manning. We all agree that transparency is vital, but we've been saying that for years. What's getting in the way? I don't know who wants to pick up with that question.
I mean, us, I think. Well, part us, and then part, I think, pressure on platforms and to release data. So I think if you look at the supply chain transparency work that was done, it says it has got better, but equally that is a report of the top brand advertisers who are all over it. I guess I would ask each and every advertiser to take some responsibility and control. Look at that framework, look at the questions you'll be asking, sit down with your agencies to really understand. I mean, I'm still shocked at how many marketing directors and CMOs don't go to media audits. I mean, the single 80-odd% of my spend is passed through to media. And actually, we are responsible and accountable for making sure that money's being well spent. And we need to lean in and be all over the detail, inspect what you expect. So I guess my big call out would be to branded advertisers. Come and talk to ISBA if you want more information. We have tools, we have frameworks. The more we as an industry, are talking to our agencies and the vendors around transparency and what's expected, the more movement I think we'll see. I mean, the latest report says there's been good improvement, but you're looking at the big advertisers who have resources who are all over it. There's a very, very long tail. So I guess it's a call out for everyone from me to say, inspect what you expect and make sure you're asking the right questions and upskill your people.
Well, that
and
goes
again,
back
we can
to
help with that.
Yeah,
talent.
upskilling and training for the resources to know where to look. It is all available.
Totally.
It is all available. The training is available. The resources are available. The framework, the industry associations are there to help. But every company should help its employees to do a better job.
And it's complex. I mean, definitely the area we were talking earlier about it. It's a complex area that continues to evolve.
Question now for Alessandra. This is anonymous. I'm what you might consider young talent and will be making the decision this year on my next role. Why do you think I should stay in marketing?
What a brilliant question. I love this profession. So I'm the perfect person or the worst person to ask. I think it's a profession that really has at the core the passion and interest in human beings and how they behave and why they make their choices and what contributes to their everyday lives or the special things in their lives. And I always say, if you're interested in human beings and behavior, if you're interested in what makes them tick, what influences, in a positive way, their behavior and the choices and the creativity that you can add to everybody's lives every day. We sell bananas and avocados, and yet I feel passionate about it. It's an amazing profession that's different every day. It requires teamwork, bouncing off of the ideas. It mixes logic and magic, as we used to say at Unilever. It mixes data, technology, and a great sense of empathy. I don't think there's a better profession. Just stick with it.
Can I add? At the end of it, I think we change society. We drive business growth. It's proven we impact the economy. So I think as an industry, the value we bring actually is a real bellwether for culture, future, growth. I think we play a really important part in that. So I'm with Alessandra. I love the function. And it's moving fast. It's an exciting place to be.
It's
tech-enabled.
a dynamic industry. It's a creative industry. It's changing all the time. There's opportunity all around. I think you get to work with creatively minded people who are passionate about what they do, and you can change the world.
Totally.
You can change the world.
And create elements of joy, as you were saying in your speech earlier as well, in hard times. Another anonymous question here, really insightful talent session. Please, can you explain more why marketing salaries have been going down, bucking the overall trend? There's been a few questions with that theme, actually, so that is really key, isn't it? Alessandra, if you want to start with that.
Yeah, look, it's a great question, and I could venture out on some theories, but one of the things we do want to do is with the talent task force is actually to commission a bit more research with readers to the why of what's happening. We've got some data now that tells us what is happening, but we want to go a level deeper. You could imagine that the search for effectiveness and efficiency and some of the technology has helped replace some of the roles and reshape some of the roles. But I feel and fear that we are underestimating the power of having good talent that is motivated. And then we need to look at a total proposition. We all know the salary is not the only thing. Nobody can overnight increase the salaries. But if we make our people more skilled and upskill them and better and more productive, then in return, we can probably encourage a higher level of salary as well.
And I must add, I'm so encouraged that salaries is a topic that we're discussing again in a cross-industry way at the highest level, because we see that in agencies similarly, and there's lots of reasons for it. One of them is decades of pretty aggressive procurement driving costs down. So appreciating the need for value, good value, best talent that can drive the right outcomes for your business. That's the right conversation to be having.
I also link it back to effectiveness, because I think as a function we need to do a better job of articulating within business the value we create as a function. So I think you end up in this cycle is that you're not as valued in some businesses around how much you grow in the business, the impact you have on the P&L. Therefore, I think the value internally in organisations isn't as high as it potentially could be as a hypothesis.
As ever with these discussions, we're running out of time. We've discussed a lot of problems, some solutions. I want to try and end on a positive. So from each of you, something that you think the leaders in the year ahead, again looking ahead over the next 12 months, should be really excited about in terms of development in the industry? Margaret, perhaps if I can start with you.
So for me, it's leading with purpose. If I look at the next year, we need to step it up on sustainability. Brands need to lead in and really help customers through cost of living crisis. And I think there's a big opportunity for us to really be there by customer sides, helpful, useful, relevant, and drive a different outcome for society.
Okay, Alessandra.
I think just like you say, invest in brands so you come out of a crisis with a stronger brand. I would say invest in your talent. Do some very, selected, focused areas of investment. Training often doesn't cost much. It's available. Just give them the time to be interested in their professional growth. And as a result, you'll come out stronger out of the crisis with talent that is really motivated, feels valued, to contribute and increase the output, ultimately, of this industry.
Julian.
Embrace technology. I think the opportunities are vast. I think we're seeing brands getting more confident in gaming. Yeah. But AI, look, I bet some of the speeches today had a bit of chat GPT helping them put it together, but also into production, virtual production. We'll be talking about Net Zero next, I believe, and the opportunities to have much more sustainable approaches to production through virtual studios and the like, and the opportunities it gives you creatively.
Okay, Julian and Alessandra and Margaret, thank you very much. That brings to an end the President's Panel session. Just to let you know, we're going to take a short break now. I hope you've enjoyed the fantastic sessions we've had so far this morning. If we could meet back here at 11:45 for our next sessions as the morning progresses, I'd be really grateful. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.